Welcome back to the Wealth Juice podcast. As always, it's your boys, Ryan and Corey here with another episode for you. Today, we're going to be talking about how to think in decades, not days, and why we believe this is so important. And I'll kick it back to the beginning of our journey here as we started getting into wealth building and thinking about our financial futures. And we found ourselves in the beginning, as we just first got our W 2 jobs, starting to think in days and months, right? Like, okay, I just need to save up enough cash, put it in my bank account, save it up for a rainy day or an emergency, right? The emergency fund. And once we kind of read a few different books, listened to a bunch of different podcasts, and kind of got in the realm of, or rooms, I should say, with a lot of high profile investors, they had us reshape the way we looked at the world and rethink about money and this whole game. And their approach to us was like, you guys are thinking too much about tomorrow and you're not thinking in decades, 5, 10, 20, 30 years down the line. And when you get into investing in real estate, that's what you need to start thinking about. You need to start thinking about, and it applies to every facet of life too, and we'll get into all that, but really start thinking about how fast time actually goes. And you need to train yourself with consistency and discipline to have automatic investments go out every month. And then when cash comes in, deploy it into things that are going to pay you not 2 days from now, Ryan, or a month from now, Ryan, but 5, 10, 15 years, Ryan, in your future family and what future Ryan is doing in the world. You have to think about that. And it really, really hit us hard. And so for us, we wanted to, for those that are maybe earlier on their journey or really anyone at this point, it's like helping you reshape the way you're thinking about the way your life's planning out, and not only your goals, but when capital comes in, how you deploy it, and then your time. Like, how are you spending your time, and how do your habits impact you in the short term, but also in the far term? So I think, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, do you ever look at like your photo log in your phone? I was doing it the other day. I'm just scrolling back to like, oh my God, I can't believe that was in 2020. Oh my God, I can't believe that was 2017. And you just like look at yourself and you like feel different because you're like, I still look in the mirror and I feel like I look the same every day. But then you revert back to photos and just like where you were in your life. And you think about, dang, how fast did that go by? And if you could change the instant gratification like mind place that you go to about wanting things now and think in 5-year to 10-year timeframes. When you said 30 years, I mean, like, it's hard to do that because it's like you're going to put money away regardless. We put some money away for quote unquote retirement, like in our 60s, regardless. But to me, it's even really difficult for me to think in that far away. But if you think about it in 5 to 10-year increments, you will get a lot further than thinking about it in like, okay, I need this amount of cash flow to escape something that I want, like escape my job or escape something that I want to do or that I don't want to do in the next 6 months or in the next 3 months or in the next month. Doing that, I think, doesn't allow you to make the right type of decisions for like portfolio architecture. And I can just give you an example. If we're buying real estate in 2025, I'm giving this perspective from somebody who's bought real estate in all different types of areas. I'm doing anything I can to get in the game. That's one. But two, I'm buying in areas that I could see, not guarantee, but see appreciation in the future. If there's a B plus neighborhood, a B minus neighborhood, something that is gentrifying or something that is in the path of progress, because I want to think about where my money and my dollars and my appreciation and my future nest egg, if you will be in that 5 to 10-year decade. Not, hey, should I compare? This deal's a lot better. I'm going to get $500 a month in cash flow versus $200 a month in cash flow. Because when you extrapolate that out, that $500 a month in cash flow, when you extrapolate it out over a 5 to 10-year time frame, the difference between that and 200 is very minimal compared to the difference in the appreciation of an asset that goes up by 100 grand versus goes up by $500,000. You're not even touching that with the cash flow. So that's why I'm trying to get people to think of, hey, if you can, even in the house hacking realm, if you can go buy a property, let's say you spend $3,000 a month in rent right now. If you can go buy a property that allows you to get all the benefits of investing in real estate, but then spend $1,500 a month towards your mortgage, doesn't have to be living for free. You're saving that $1,500 a month, but then you're planning for your future and not just dumping money into somebody else's pocket each month with renting, but you're thinking about it like, hey, I'm 33. What does 38-year-old or 40-year-old Corey, like, what does he expect and what does he want from his life? So you have to, this is not easy to do, but it's like that marshmallow theory that I think I posted about this on Instagram the other day. the marshmallow or the marshmallow experiment. They gave kids in a Stanford experiment marshmallows, and they gave the same kids the option to wait 15 minutes to receive a second marshmallow. And the kids, they studied these kids over years. The kids that waited to receive that second marshmallow went on to have better jobs, be better with money, have better careers than the kids who just ate the marshmallow right away. And it's it's theory, but it's like if I can think about 5 to 10 years from now versus my next 3 to 6 months in terms of where I'm investing, you're just going to be so much better off. And don't think you're going to get into this real estate game and like I'm going to have enough cash flow to leave my job in 6 to 12 months. That's where people go wrong, I think.
Yeah, I think it's not just real estate too. I mean, you mentioned something, you touched on it. Hey, listen, I don't know if I've been able to think 30 years out. You're doing it without actually thinking about it if you're saying that, because every time you take out a mortgage, it's a 30-year mortgage. So you got to figure
Yeah.
that is 30 years down the line. That's a completely different version of you that is going to be inheriting that mortgage, right? Or managing it throughout the decades of your life. So, why thinking in decades matters. It's really like compound interest and compounding is, we call it the eighth wonder of the world, right? And that works with time, not speed. So every dollar invested at 10% doubles every roughly 7 years. So if you do that for decades, you don't just have returns, you have a fortune. So that's the money side of this. And so for us, it's like, okay, if you can drip a little bit of cash every month into investments, whether it's in your stock portfolio, whether it's in crypto or Bitcoin, and then you also save money for real estate, you're just going to set your future self up for the ability to live the life that you want. But also your identity takes time to form. I'm thinking about this, like who you become in 10 years is a result of small repeated action steps that you've taken every day. I think about us in the beginning of our journey 5 years ago. We're completely different right now. And I mean more bulletproof than we were. We have higher risk tolerances. We realize our massive problems back then were actually small problems. And now we have even bigger problems. So our identity has shifted in a way too, where we're like, back in the day, we're like, hey, we kind of want to be real estate investors. We're like, now we're full-fledged real estate investors, educators, and we're kind of in this entrepreneurial game. And so you can shift your identity, but it takes these steps every single day. We didn't just magically come to this realization that yesterday we wanted to do this and today we became it. It came after 300 podcast episodes. It came after dozens of real estate transactions and all these units accumulated, conversations, relationships, all these things, right? So over time, the gap widens. And we've talked about this in a previous episode. It's not only the wealth gap widens, but people who delay gratification and invest long term, they're the ones that they're not chasing like get rich quick schemes and they're trying to get shortcuts. And they're not, hey, coming up on 50 and 60 and thinking about retirement the next year. They're like, hey, listen, I gave myself the time horizon to let things nurture and come to fruition. And that's why, habits, also daily habits, are important here, because you have to train yourself not to touch some of your investments, right? Like when you get into real estate investing, the majority of your portfolio, you got to save it to the point where the money actually compounds onto itself, where you can use it for the bigger project. Or if you have a big life event and things like that. Whereas if you've only held it for 2 years and it hasn't done much, but something happens in the market and you're like, I got to sell, and you hit the panic button, that's where you get into issues. So my point is, you can't think about immediate impact and like, hey, because one thing happens tomorrow, I need to make this decision. It's building out a risk pipeline for yourself, but then also trying to picture who you want to be in the next 10, 15, 20 years. And, we do this with a lot of our students actually in our community, but Corey, you and I have done this, is you build out like almost like a roadmap for yourself. And I'm forgetting what it's
The
called.
vision cast,
There you
probably.
go. Yes,
Yeah.
vision casting. I was going to say vision board, but yes, vision casting. And you basically set a vivid picture, or you write out a paragraph of what you want your life to be in the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, right? And you can even do 3 years, but it's these steps along the way. And you write it in present tense as if you're living in that moment, where you are, what house you live in, what car you're driving, who you're surrounded with, what you're doing with your time. And it really is kind of the power of manifestation. When you set that and you dangle the carrot in front of yourself of what you want, you're able to then build smaller goals and smaller strategy steps to attain that, right? You can build it down from that 10-year vision down to a 5-year, then to a 3-year, then to a 2-year. Then what do I have to do this year? What do I have to do this month? What do I have to do this week? What do I have to do daily to be able to attack that? And so what I'm saying is, people need to start thinking about the future them. I think too many people are like, hey, what am I doing this weekend? And just trying to get to that weekend, trying to fight through the week so they don't have to get to Monday again. Then Monday starts and you're like, oh, here we go again. If you want to build something bigger, you have to think bigger, and then also put the chess pieces along the board to be able to do so.
I would also caution people and let people know that you need to invest in things that you understand. And that's why we do this podcast, is because we want to educate people on things that don't invest in something you don't understand. And I'll give you an example of a big mistake that I made, thinking in days or thinking in months and not thinking in decades or thinking in 5-year time horizons. In 2017, I bought Bitcoin. I bought like $3,000 worth of Bitcoin. I didn't understand the asset whatsoever. I had no idea what I was investing in. I was jumping on some forum and some trend. That was at when Bitcoin was at 117, I'm sorry, $17,000 per coin. So I had $3,000 worth of it. And then when it dipped to like 10 or something like that, I sold it because I didn't know. I was like, oh, this is so dumb. I don't know what's happening, until now we both understand it to a much larger degree. And if I would have kept that $3,000 would be about 20 grand a day. That's nothing to like write home to mom about, but it's not, it would be compounded with how much, because we've invested more into it, right? So that was a short-sighted thought process of like, okay, well, I had $3,000, then I sold it. What did I use that $2,000 on? I have no idea. I have no idea where that $2,000 went. Maybe some of it got invested in the stock market, which gave me that 6 to 12% return, but probably not. I probably was just like, I don't know, probably bought some shoes or did something with it that didn't actually help my decade self. Now, this isn't telling anybody to like not live your life. Live your life. Like, and we're selling a rental property so that you can buy a primary residence and I can pay for a wedding. So live your life, do those things. But by not thinking in decades, by the way, let me just backtrack. We're selling that to do those things, but also to invest in other things. So, but that's key. And so I didn't understand what I was doing back then, and I wasn't thinking long term. And then the other point I want to bring up is that in this past year, I've had a significant drop in my active income because I left a decent paying sales job to pursue our real estate business, our mentorship program, and the real estate agent business full time. And what I didn't stop was the monthly contributions to the things that I do want to invest in. And it's been harder. It's been much harder to make those investments consistently, but I found a way because I know that 42-year-old Corey, 54-year-old Corey, 59-year-old Corey is going to be thrilled that I continued to allow compounding to do its thing in the investments that I strongly believe in and understand. And I don't have a crystal ball to let that play out, but having the extra money continue to go there each month, even if it feels a little bit tighter, and paying myself first, that's, I've gotten away from thinking like, well, my active income isn't as much as it was right now, but it's not always going to be like that. So I'm not thinking in days and months. I'm thinking like it's going to improve because our business is growing and my agent side of the business is growing. So if I continue that baseline, I have to invest this amount no matter where my income is. Then when the income doubles and triples, I will be so glad that I did. So it's key to continue to stay disciplined with it.
Yeah, I do. I want to touch on two things here. One is back to your story on crypto. I had about 20,000 invested, and the company, I moved it over from, I had it on Coinbase. I moved it over to a company called Voyager because you could stake your coins and basically make a percentage return on them.
I remember this. Yeah.
Yep. And then essentially what happened was the company went bankrupt, a lot of different things. So I ended up losing the bag. I maybe got back like $3,000. And at that point, that was the value of the coins at that point, right? They went from 20. I probably got half of what I should have gotten back, but then also the market tanked. And I had about, like compared to the 20, I was at 3 grand. Me at the time, I said, I hate this. I'm done. I got burned. And I moved the 3, right? Just put it in my brokerage account, right? And so I was like, okay, at least it's investing in something. I got burned. And then I waited time. And I was so convicted, by the way, back then. I think it was probably roughly 2016, 2017, similar to you. And
That was a
2017.
good time for people to be convicted. You probably knew a lot more than me. So yeah.
Yep. But for me, I let the like getting burned get a hold of me. And so I went away for a while. And, fast forward today, we're sitting at, let's just call it 115,000, depending on when this comes out. But with that, that's way more than what it was at, and I was similar to you. So my point is with saying this is I got back in, end of last year when it dipped hard, and I'm, I've definitely made up more than I had put in the beginning, because I brought back, I was like, dude, why am I going to let this setback on me getting burned in the past dictate my future. And the only reason I got back in so hard on that because all the research I did, the education, and I put myself around the right people that were able to educate me, and I utilized the cash at the dip. But also, I kind of had the conviction, not only the conviction, but the wherewithal to do this because I'm bringing it back to our real estate portfolio. We had bought single families, duplexes, had some bigger deals. And at one point, one of our duplexes literally burned to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, damn. At that point, we weren't like, let's get out of the game. We're like, how do we fix this? That's the immediate first thing you do. We got around a gentleman who kind of gave us the full SOP, how to deal with the fire, XYZ, right? We dealt with it. We actually ended up coming out on top, which was great. Didn't get burned.
We
Ironic
did
there.
get burned.
We literally got burned. Yeah, no. So actually, our tenants were fine. The property was, it ended up being, we got rid of it, to say the least. We moved on to the next thing. However, we didn't leave the game. And my point there is saying we have scaled our portfolio to 80 units at this point now. We have this big, robust portfolio that we're super proud of because we stayed the course and we said, okay, this happens. In the beginning of real estate, if this was our first project that we ever did and it went to the ground, we'd be like, whoa, the worst case happened to us. I don't know if we want to keep going. But luckily it was like the second or third. So like, dude, whatever. We already got some other stuff going on. We have more cash that's coming in. Let's redeploy. And we met together and we said, hey, dude, once again, why did we get in this game? It's not for this mistake now. We're not stopping now. We're fully convicted and we believe in what we're doing. I don't care. Let's keep moving. We took the cash that we got, invested into another property, continue the portfolio, right? So my point here is with both of these, there's probably 90% of people will have something happen to them like this. They get burned and they're like, I'm out and I'm done forever. And then you go back to the hamster wheel, you start working for 45 years and you wait till 65. Like stuff is going to happen. Contact is going to be made, but you have to think in decades. Don't think about that. The hyperfixation of that moment of you feeling like, I hate this because it all happens. But the greater grand scheme, you studied it, you learned it, you were so convicted in it. Stay true to what your belief is because you got there for a reason and just get back up on your feet. You get knocked down, you get back up on your feet. The only way you can learn is to weather these storms and just try again. Think about everybody in 2008. The people that are not investing in real estate, they lost it all, but they didn't try to get back up on their feet, or they did try to get back up on their feet. They couldn't get past a certain point. But there's a lot of very successful real estate investors that we are in our network, and every single one of them has a story about 2008 and how they persevered and how they pivoted and how they adapted to the situation. And they're not scared anymore because they're like, dude, I've dealt with the worst and I'm okay with that. And there's always a new worst, if you will, right? But if you have the right people around you to help you get through the storm and navigate and get to the other side, that's the best part. So it's not always about real estate. It's not always about investing. I do want to kind of pivot a little bit here and say, like, this can touch every aspect of your life, thinking in decades. Do you have one more thing before I go over?
Yeah. I just want to mention that, when you talk about like this, anybody listening to this podcast episode right now has dealt with whatever high level of stress that they've deemed to be stressful in their life. And you've gotten through every single one of those moments of stress because you are here where you're at right now. So to me, the amount of stress that you've overcome in the past, you think about, if I'm thinking about this in decades, I'm thinking about this like long term, anything that you've been super worried about or anxious about, you have overcome. So you have to think about, how am I going to feel about this when it's over? Because it will bypass you and it will end. And that to me has allowed me to be like, well, all of the other things that I've been worried about over the, like in this month time frame or this week time frame or this 3-month time frame, once they pass, you kind of move on to new worries. But if you think about it in decades, you can just think about the end result. Like, oh, after this is done, which it will be done, how am I going to feel? I'm going to feel back to my regulated state. So if you can keep that, because that was how we had to deal with this fire, dude. Like, it was like we felt like the worst thing had happened to us, but we kept thinking in, okay, Corey and Ryan, they're going to feel in 2025 when this is over with, what is the position that we want to be in and how do we think like that now? So that's part of it too, inside your brain, thinking in decades.
The next thing I want to talk about is how this impacts every aspect of your life, thinking in decades. It's not just real estate, not just wealth building. It's health and fitness, relationships and family, your career, your reputation, everything you do speaks. And it's not only to yourself, not only to others, but to yourself, right? So health and fitness, the workouts you skip today don't matter. They won't matter today, but if you skip them for a decade, that's going to add up to weakness, disease, regret. Like, hey, if you don't continue to do the things to put yourself in a healthy position for the future, it's going to come back and bite you in the butt. And that's one thing I want to talk about is like, we lift, we try to do 5 to 7 days a week, at least a day or two off. But if you can get in there for 60 minutes, not only to clear your brain, for us, mostly, for at least for me, it's a stress relief thing, whether I'm running or whether I'm working out. It's like keeps me regulated. And obviously it's something to chase to look and feel like the best version of yourself. And I think it's all like mental game at that point. It's like if you look good, you feel good, you'll play good. But if we stop doing that, that's going to hurt us. Not now. You probably be like, okay, yeah, like maybe I don't feel as good, but down the line, we're going to feel that in a big way. And I say this to say, like, I sometimes forget about it's like the health reason. Like, hey, this should make me a very healthy older person. I hope if I've done 25 years of working out or whatever it is, right at this point, or 22. So health is wealth, but it compounds invisibly. And I think that's the thing that I want to talk about is like, it pays dividends later. Not only do we believe in the current results and like the day to day making us feel like we're at the top of our game, but if you think long term, doing this is just, there's only benefit in my opinion.
Think how much harder it is to recreate your health as you get older. I've even felt that from the age of 25 to 33 in 8 years. I've noticed that it's not as easy to bounce back from something like, okay, like a hangover, for example. Like I've eliminated a lot of my drinking habits because I know that bouncing back from that wasn't like what it was when I was 25. So if you put that into health and fitness, like recreating yourself in a healthy way, if you have to untie unhealthy habits in your late 30s and 40s, it becomes like this mountain. Whereas like I saw this guy the other day, this was just an Instagram post, but the guy, he was 73 years old and he was like it wasn't like bodybuilding jacked, but he looked like he was 47. Like he was in elite shape for somebody that age. And he was, probably taking just testosterone and like natural things, but just try to keep him really healthy. And he said to the camera, they're like, what's your secret? And he's like, I work out 4 days a week for 40 years. I mean, there's no secret. I just kept with it. So he's thinking about the ultimate thing, the ultimate prize in being healthy and be able to run around and play tennis and golf and whatever he's doing at 73. You have to think about that when you're 24 or you're 18 or you're 40. I mean, you just, it's paramount. So that is another thing about thinking in decades. It's not just, again, not just real estate investing, but your entire life while dripping in experiences and fun and enjoying yourself along the way. It's all balance.
100%. I also want to tie in a couple other things here. It's like, when you think about when you go to work, and this is probably just a majority of people, you're sitting slouched all day looking at a computer. If you're, white collar and you're working corporate, right? And there's snacks at work for some people, right? They're typically garbage. And then, if you get provided lunch, it's typically garbage. If you go out to eat, it's probably fast food. There's not that many healthy options all around that are affordable. Everything's pretty pricey for people. So if you don't take a conscious effort to decide to put healthy things in your body, you might not feel it right away. You might not feel amazing today, but you're not gonna be like, okay, this is the end of the world. But in 10 years time, 20 years time, you're going to feel that if you do that every single day. There's nothing worse than, not seeing a friend for a long period of time. And then you see them and you're like, whoa, what happened? Like, did they let themselves go? And I will say, there's a couple of things to this where I do believe the world and society is stacked against you, because whether you're going to driving an hour to work every day, then you get there, then you sit all day, you don't have time to do a workout, or you don't make time for it, right? Because you want to do it when you get home, but you're exhausted when you get home. Maybe you have kids. It's hard to make time for you. And then when you're at work, you're just like, it's just easy to grab something quick. And you just put it in, you go, okay, I can keep working. So what I'm saying is you have to consciously take the time to map things out. Meal prep, put it in your calendar when you're going to work out. What muscle group you're going to work out today? Are you going to go for a run today? Like if you put intention behind it, that's the only way you can really give yourself that consistency and discipline to actually do it. Or for us, and I'm just kind of speaking for Corey and I and how we've done it over the years. Like we've quite literally put it in our calendar and said, okay, today what we're doing, here's the workout, meal prep on Sunday for the week, cook instead of going out all the time. Now, I'm not saying we do this every single day and everybody's got their days, but the more that you do this and you make it a almost kind of like a regiment for yourself, it's easier to see the future of like, okay, I should be, knock on wood, I'm giving myself the probability to be in a healthier spot or at a wealthier spot down the line. Right. And
Yeah.
so I'm sure you have something there.
Well, this goes into, it's funny, we're talking about wealth building, but it's like almost like life building in a way in this episode, because this ties into your family and your career and your reputation as well. And just think about this for a second. If you start out a new career or a new venture, those people that you want to associate with and you want to build true relationships with, they might not come to fruition for that 5 to 10 year time frame. I just think about this. If you're, let's say you're in the financial sector, I have some good friends who are financial planners, financial advisors. Okay. When you're a financial advisor at 22, your life sucks, because why would anybody want to work with a 22-year-old? You're like, unless you're on like a cool team, right? But you have to go through that grind. And I've watched some of my friends in the last 4 or 5 years go through that grind of just planting seeds and being valuable and showing up and having relationships. And all of a sudden you get into your 30s, and those people that you were great friends to, and you just showed up for them, they trust you. And all of a sudden the 33-year-olds and the 39-year-olds and the 42-year-olds, they start to have money. And then they go to you because you've been planting seeds for 10 years. You've been the one that's been around them being this person. This isn't even me. I'm talking about friends of mine or people that I've known in my life and family. So your reputation compounds. Your reputation needs to be thought about. The takeaway is like, you don't build a career in a year. You don't build a business in a year. You build it in that same thing, just like wealth building, just like fitness. So I know this is hard for people. It's hard for me. Like, I struggle with it too, because I'm like, man, 39 or 42, like that's so far away. Think about the last 10 years. It's like, so I think about all the things we did, but then you just look back at that camera roll, or you look back at your Instagram and you're like, it actually flies by. So just do the right thing every day. Do the good every single day. And before you know it, those people will turn to you and be like, wow, like you really showed up for me. And you'll have this abundance mindset. You'll have this abundance of relationships, family. Your career will explode. And I'm talking from experience, but I'm also talking from other people that we've interviewed on this podcast that have said that. I don't know if they put it in that box for you, but there you go.
Yeah, there's two things I want to touch on there. Your network equals your net worth is one of the things we've said for years, and I've never felt that to be more true. And it's the people you pour into and you just give, 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 give. It always comes back full circle. You never know when you're going to get a referral. You never know when you're going to be in a pinch and you need some help. And so it's always going into that, just trying to serve others as best you possibly can, expecting zero in return. If someone wants to learn about real estate,
That's hard to do, though, by the way, right? To expect zero in return. Like, I've struggled with that because, like, but you're 100% right. Like I've been doing this recently, or I'm just giving people in my network that I love and trust referrals to things. And I try so hard in my head to be like, I expect nothing. I expect nothing. I expect nothing in return. Even though, like, in that little thing in the back of your brain's like, oh, it'd be cool if that was reciprocated. But you really do have to do exactly what you said and just expect nothing in return. And the law of reciprocity, like, this stuff just eventually, it could be 2 years, it could be 5 years, it could be 10, it could be 20. It comes back to you. So, not to cut you off, but it's important,
Yeah, you just have to not be selfish. It's
Yeah.
like blocking that side from your brain. It's like you can just trust yourself that you can figure it out on your own. And I think that's like the lone wolf mentality that I've just had for a long time. And like partnerships make it, it's harder to, if you trust yourself to go into a room and just make it happen. You don't have to rely on anyone. You don't need to be, hey, can I get thrown a bone? Right? You just figure it out. And we've been through a lot of storms that have allowed us to do that. Everything else is just icing on the cake. And maybe it's been, I've been in customer service working on my W-2 for years, and it's just give, 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 give. And then I found that people in their lane of work have just helped me out, because I've done things for them and been a great asset to them over time. Where now in my look at my repertoire here in my like Rolodex is like, anytime I need to go buy a car, I have someone that owns a dealership. Anytime I need a haircut, I have someone that obviously I have a barber, someone for insurance. I have that person, someone, a real estate agent. I have someone for that. I have like anything. I think the biggest thing was when we started getting into real estate, and I was like, man, we've never done this. And it's a little daunting. I've read the books, but like to really go do the thing you had done, you had one property I'd bought in a primary residence, but it wasn't like buying an investment property. And I'm like, okay, once we buy it, then we have to manage it. And then we have to have contractors, and we have to have like this thing. And, someone that I had a 10-year relationship with, just purely like a relationship through the W-2, but we had built it outside of that. It was really just like we'd hang out. He was in his 50s. I'm in my late 20s, right? But he had fully established his entire real estate portfolio, and he was an investor, owned a title company, had anything we possibly needed. And I was like, dude, I'm thinking of getting into real estate. Before I didn't even ask. He's like, dude, what do you need? Let's talk. Come meet with me, bring Corey on. And we just chatted and we told him our vision, and he helped it come to life. And then it's funny, he's one of our best deals he hooked us up with when we went to go sell it. We're like, hey, we give him first dibs to buy it back. And we give him every title deal for, properties that we buy. So it's just one of these things, a full circle machine that just like you look out for others and they're going to look out for you. And so I say that to say this is your not only, relationships through your career, but your friends and family. Like for us, we have a skill set now. We have people that we need. So if anyone's like looking to buy a home or looking to invest in real estate, it's easy. Like, dude, here you go. Here's what you do. And then it's funny, you find your friends and family that are like, they see you doing all this stuff and they might not be liking, commenting, sharing on anything, but they see what you're doing and they're proud of you, and you're doing it for them because you're showing them what's possible. And you're like, if they ever need anything, they know they can go to you for help now. And there's nothing better than getting a text or a call or a DM saying that you helped change someone's life by just doing something that you were going to do anyways for you. So why not help those around you? Not saying you can do that every single day, right? And we're all limited on time. And don't trust me, there are people that tire kickers, and you tell them to do something, they won't go do it, and it gets frustrating. But my point here is all of these things, they come to play in the long grand scheme of things. And if you can create daily habits around them, it's just going to help you in the long run, whether it's prioritizing your health, prioritizing the income that comes in, deploying it into things that are going to pay you in the future, relationships and family, the people that want to be around you no matter what. You can't just be full work mode all the time. You need to pour into them too. And, your social life, make sure you go still have friends, keep in touch with your brothers, your sisters, your cousins. Like, that's important, and shutting off the other stuff, because that other stuff all goes away at the end of the day. And then you want to be, at least have your pack to want to spend time with you. They don't want you to be this closed off individual that's just been gunning for, a couple $1,000,000 and then you're just not enjoyable to be around. Right. So there's so many things here. And I think this episode is just to showcase these little things you do on a daily basis. Time flies. So if you don't put time, energy, and attention into these things, you basically become a version of yourself that you didn't want to become. And Corey and I we talk about this all the time, and we've only been able to do all this stuff and talk about this stuff and get excited about this stuff because other people in our network have kind of grounded us and said, hey guys, you need to start thinking about these things. So that's why we're taking the conversations we've learned from them and just saying, hey, here's what we've learned, guys. This is, in the higher level rooms, this is what they're talking about. Like, we're passing it down and trying to pave it forward. And so I just really think about all this stuff is, are you becoming the person that younger you needed or looked up to? And if so, then you're successful. I think about, younger 15 to 18-year-old Ryan and like thinking he was going to attack the world. And like, granted, am I exactly where I wanted to be? No, but I don't know exactly where I wanted to be at this age. I never put an age onto it. I just like, hey, I want to be here, have these things, do these things. But then on the other hand, I'm like, this version of Ryan can look back to younger version and grab his hand and pull him up and teach him the entire way and skip so many steps. And that's what I look to do now with my younger brothers and my friends that are around me. And I just think that having like an older mentor or someone that can show you the way and just help you skip a little bit of steps and make you feel more confident in yourself. There's nothing cooler than that person to me. It's like believing in someone else and showing them, hey, like, showing them that they have a gift and that gift's important and that they need to lean into that. Because I think that it's hard sometimes for people to figure out what they're good at and what they bring to the world. And so if you can give that to other people in your relationships, once again, and just thinking, this is more like a gratitude and thinking about others kind of thing. It's like, pay it forward. It'll always come back to you.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to wrap it up, but I do want to give like one more piece of tangibility for like one way that you're thinking in decades, and that we've talked about this too. So your current, we've went back and forth about this. You're trying to buy a new primary residence, right? And like your dream home, if you will, right? And your current primary residence would, your mortgage is in the 2,000-ish range. It could probably rent for 4,000. And we were just talking about what the decade or the 5 to 10 year horizon could look like versus if you sell that and take the $250,000, $300,000, $350,000, whatever it is, out of it to go buy a nicer home, maybe that you might not might not actually bring you like that much more happiness. It might just bring you a little bit more of a bill at the end of the day. So we were thinking about, okay, for you at this stage in your life to think in the 5 to 10 year horizon, you should keep that property and do whatever you can to keep your current primary residence, because it's going to cash flow, I don't know, probably $1,500 a month or something like that. Maybe it's somewhere in that range where that your tenants are going to be paying down that loan. And then in that another 5 to 10 years, yeah, okay, maybe at that point you sell it and you take 500,000, but you've already established yourself in your current dream home, and you don't need to burn the bridge on that specific property early, because you're going to thank yourself later. And I know it's hard. A lot of people will take their current primary residence, and the only way to afford the next home is to sell that current primary residence and trade up. And that's playing real life Monopoly, but not as an investor, just as a consumer. So that's just like some piece of advice. There's probably a lot of people out there that own their primary residence, and if you've owned it for a period of time, there's a very good chance it could cash flow for you once you move out. So having that mindset of like, okay, if I just had that one property, or I had those 2 properties or 3 properties down the line, will 10 years in the future me be thankful that I did that? So I want to leave some people with that, because that's a real scenario that we're going through right now.
Yeah, I'll give a little more context to that. Like we talk about this all the time, how the wealth gap is widening, and the people that own the scarce assets that go up in value over time and produce income are the winners, right? And that leads most roads to real estate. And I'm at this point, we're mid 30s, and we have a good net worth, I'd say, for where I thought I'd be. And we own a primary residence, as you mentioned. There's probably, I hope, maybe like around 200 left on it. It's probably worth around 6. And so I could easily sell that place, go buy the $1 million home, right? And then be good and be like, and convince myself that like that was a good decision because we bought the forever home. We can raise our kids there, blah, blah, blah. However, that's giving me a massive mortgage payment. And though I'm still moving to that new spot, I still have to chase dollars every single day, month, year to
Yeah,
pay that off.
you reset your ability to be free financially. You reset it like at a new baseline of how much you're spending each month, right?
Yep. And so basically my point here is I've refused. I know when we have a couple of deals hit, refinance, sell, I'm that 200 that I owe on this place, I'm going to be able to knock it out. And then I have $4,000 a month coming in, maybe a little bit less depending how much, things go up, all that. That's pure cash flow there you go. That'll pay the next mortgage. And then if I ever get in a pickle, I could always sell the property, cash out right roughly around $500,000. That's amazing to be able to just dump into whatever I want. Maybe we just have it in the bank, because at that point, every other thing I already have my other investments flourishing. So my point is, it's giving me options, or I could refinance it and pull lines of credit off it and play the game and buy more property and do all this, right? But for me, that's why we preach so hard, is just get one. If you can just get one, it could be your primary residence that eventually turns into a rental, like this one's going to do. When I go buy the new primary I'm not going to deal with it. And I know that's not for everyone. And you're like, listen, like, 80 to 90% of people, when they go through this game, they just trade up, right? But I don't want to waste the last, I don't know, we'll call it 10 years or however long and reset the compounding. So I know that's a lot, but it's practicing what we preach. We talk about this all the time, is delay, delay, delay. You don't think my wife's like, dude, what are we doing? Like, let's go, let's move, let's do this thing. I get the pressure all the time, but it's like kind of explaining the long-term play on this one. And though it's kind of a pinch right now, because we're like, damn, like we could do this, but we're not doing it. It's dangling the carrot. It's like, just trust me, this is the way. And I know, instead of having to have 15 of these properties that are cash flowing a couple $100 a month, I have one and it's paid off. That is the small but mighty portfolio that I'm about. I don't want to waste my time dealing with a million different tenants. I rather have the tightest, smallest portfolio generating me the most cash and appreciation that I possibly can. So then I can play in the bigger fields. I love our bigger projects, the 18 unit, the 10 unit, where you and I get to go in together and kind of take it down creatively. That's the cool stuff for me now. And just because we've gotten to that game, and we always thought we would build a portfolio of 100 units that are just single families, right? Like we didn't know. And then you evolve. And once again, it's like we talk about this journey to becoming financially free, millionaire, et cetera, whatever. There's like infinite mountain peaks that you can strive for. But the original one is like becoming a millionaire. You're like, okay, cool. You get there and you're like, dude, it's sweet. A lot of money is in the ground. It's not like earth shattering. And it's because the value of the dollar has gone down a ton. Purchasing power is done. Or down. And so the $1 million today isn't what it was back in the day. It's like, maybe need 3 to 10, and so it's only going to continue to go like that. But my point is, you get to that milestone and you realize, I'm like, dude, I feel much better about the person I've become, the investor I've become, the entrepreneur I've become, the person that has been worthy of that dollar amount, because I've learned so much and I've been through so much BS and had to pivot and learn. And so my point for bringing all this up is, once again, people think in decades, you will eventually get to your number. You will eventually get to whatever you want to get to, but just make sure that along the way you're setting the healthy habits over time. So that way, when you get to that level, you can just keep going. You go to the next one and you allow yourself to level up and you don't stop and stay stagnant. And it's hard. And sometimes it gets lonely on this road. So that's why Corey and I talk about this all the time. We're fortunate to have each other in this game to keep each other moving when, some days you're a little slower, but it's also investing in yourself. And you don't have to invest in real estate this specific year, but you should invest in a community of other people that are doing it or doing the things you want to do, because then you get yourself back on a team. That's what I think we're all lacking. We played sports growing up our whole lives, from elementary school to high school. And then you get into the real world after, and you start working a job for a few years, and like, what am I doing? Like, it's just like, I get it, but the fun is sucked out of things, and like for us, we're like, how do we get a band of brothers again to go tackle the next thing and strive and chase and learn and grow? And like, that's just, we're athletes. So that's why I brought that up, is like, we're missing that. And,
Yeah.
we had Devin Kennard on the show a while back. He used to play for the Cardinals and Ravens. And what we met him in person at one of the masterminds. It really stuck out to me. And he's like, dude, I left the NFL and there's no locker room talk. I don't have anyone competing, and like a band of brothers to go tackle this thing with. And he's like, that was the hardest part for me, is like finding dogs out there. Like, I want people that I can ride with and go attack this thing and like bring the fun back and build the competitive chase back. And so you and I think we were lacking that for a few years until we joined forces, started the podcast, started investing together. And then, our network built from there. So I say all that to say is, don't sleep on the power of your network and the people around you, and think in decades. Don't think about just tomorrow, who you're going to be and what you want to do. Think about 5, 10, 15, 20, even 30 years down the line. How are you going to help that person out now? And that person's going to look back and be like, damn, I'm proud of that guy or gal, because they set me up and set the family up for massive success.
Yeah, man, that's a good way to wrap it up. I think anybody that is having any takeaways from this episode is just that ask yourself questions about how future you will feel. And you can pick 3 years, you can pick 5 years, you can pick 10 years from now, but ask yourself questions about, am I making decisions that will make my family and myself, my future self, proud? And I think if you do that, it's going to be hard to lose. So thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. And we will see you in another couple days.